everybody. Everybody who's watching this on the replay, when I get some people on the live stream, I'm going to ensure that everybody can hear me because I have the phone a little bit further away for the live stream today. It was just way too up close the way that I had things set up before. So I do have headphones that I can plug in if people can't hear me. So if anybody's watching this on the replay and the volume sucks, just wait a few minutes. We will get it figured out. We are going a little bit late today, but everything is always right on time, which is a perfect way to look at things for those of us who are chronically late through this spiritual lens of divine timing, right? We can use anything to our advantage. Hello, Dee. You can hear me good? All right, perfect. The mics on iPhones are great. I'm so happy that I have my iPhone and I'm able to stream on here and record videos and all the such. Technology is sometimes a beautiful thing. Can be a scary thing, but it's also a beautiful thing. All right. So Dee's here to keep me company. Looks like a couple other people. Annika, of course. Beautiful Annika. As we wait for people to hop on here, my computer just made a noise. It makes me think it's alive now. It was being, yes, here we go. It's Mercury retrograde, you know what I mean? So my computer was doing funny stuff and I just kind of gave up on it and closed it, and now it seems to be working. So we're going to pull up the astrology for the upcoming week. Of course, the new moon in Leo is the big news. And that is that today, actually? That is today, isn't it? Let me see. Tomorrow. It is tomorrow. So we're in that energy right now, and I did take a look at the chart for the new moon in Leo. It's pretty exciting. This is, and we're already feeling it, right? So I'm telling you that it's powerful. You can feel the energy of it. We have an opposition to Pluto here, the sun and the moon at 2 degrees of Leo, opposite Pluto at 2 degrees of Aquarius. So this is a really close opposition, essentially an exact opposition. Right, 236 for Pluto and 208. So, you know, a few minutes off of being exact, but this is pretty close here, all right? And 2 degrees is also where we find the fixed star Altair. We talked about that. Anybody who has not seen the Pluto retrograde video, I highly recommend that you do that if you are really looking forward to or wanting to prepare for these new moon energies, because Pluto retrograde being exactly opposite this new moon is really going to be playing a powerful role in this process. And in that video, I go into detail about the fixed star Altair. Altair is a fixed star that represents freedom. It represents independence. It is also a star system, because remember, every star is not just a single star. There's a lot more going on than what we readily see with our telescopes or our eyes or whatever. You know, so there's a whole group of beings that live on the fixed star Altair and within that star system that it represents. And that is a star system where we see this very same energy that we're experiencing on this planet and in many other planets and star systems, such as Orion, with this mind control, this manipulation, this tyranny that the star system are undergoing and have been undergoing for a long time. So we're going to see that energy, and this energy of leadership and this energy of freedom and sovereignty, and knowing and understanding the difference between leadership actions that are motivated in self-interest and those that are motivated in the greater collective interest. And this energy, we don't need to know that Altair is sitting right there. That's the really cool thing about astrology. We don't need to know that Altair is sitting right there where Pluto is right now in order to understand that just with the energies of Leo and Aquarius, we're working with the axis of leadership. So when we understand these fixed stars and these other points, it just takes the understanding deeper. But it's there. It's just different levels of the information and the energy. So as we're working with this new moon in Leo, we are going to be working with some of these themes of leadership, how it is that we show up as leaders in our own lives, how it is that we lead with integrity, with authenticity. Authenticity, I think, is going to be a big energy of this new moon. And I was feeling that energy of self-love and self-acceptance. Something that we have going on here, aside from Pluto, is that we actually have what's called a kite formation happening. And so on the sides here, we have the opposition between Pluto and the sun and the moon, with Mercury retrograde actually kind of hanging off in the corner to the side there. Mercury is at 13 degrees of Leo right now. So we got that kind of going on, which, now that we're thinking about it, makes Mercury trine the great attractor. So Mercury is really pulling in some energy, and we'll talk about that in just a minute here. But that we have that opposition with Pluto. And then to one side of Pluto here, in a sextile, we have Saturn conjunct Neptune retrograde in the sign of Aries. And on the other side here, in another sextile, we have Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Sagittarius. So this is a really interesting energy that we have going on here. And of course, Black Moon Lilith and Saturn and Neptune are trining each other. So they're creating this beautiful, some call it like a mystic triangle with Pluto here. But then that's part of a larger aspect that sort of arcs up and also connects with the sun and the moon. So we have Saturn and Neptune on one side, Black Moon Lilith on the other side, actually harmonizing the energies and harmonizing the tension between the sun and the moon and Pluto, the tension between the Leo aspects of our being and the Aquarian aspects of our being. And remember, when we have opposing signs, these signs are like two sides of the same coin. So it's kind of like the energy is like the way that Spirit's showing it to me to relay to people right now. It's sort of the energy of somebody who mirrors you and who has a lot of the same qualities that you do, but they might express them differently than you do. So they kind of like rub you the wrong way, or they trigger you, or it's sort of like, you know, when two people meet each other and they're too much alike almost, so they end up, there's like that friction. That's kind of like what opposing signs are in one sense. In another sense, sometimes they are very different, but they're also very much alike in ways that they don't want to admit. And so that's kind of like the funny energy between a lot of opposing signs, particularly when we're talking about Leo and Aquarius. They're both fixed signs, right? So Leos and Aquarians are both they're opinionated, right? Remember, these are generalizations. Nothing is ever cut and dried in astrology because there's so many factors influencing. All right, just as a disclaimer here. All right, but essentially, you know, a little bit stubborn, maybe very fixed in their views, very opinionated, right? Very much about self-expression. Leo does that as more of a performance piece, whereas Aquarian self-expression tends to be more through the rebellion, more through the uniqueness, more through that ultimately, in its highest expression, going their own way and being their own person regardless of the crowd, right? Although we know that Aquarians, and this is where you see similarities, right? Sometimes they end up falling into that trap, that rebellious trap, where they go against anything automatically just because everybody else is into it or everybody else thinks a certain way, even if it's not what they really truly think or feel, right? So that's when they kind of get trapped and tricked by their own energy in a sense, you know what I mean? And so we're working with these themes, we're working with these energies where we are truly expressing from the heart in the ways that Leo desires to do, in a way that is authentic and truly representative of the self, in that true Aquarian form. And there is this energy of balancing, because remember, this is the axis, this Leo Aquarius axis, not only of self-expression, but also of leadership. How it is that we show up, how it is that we lead in our own lives, how it is that we are that example to others, what that means for us. And we're going to see on a world stage, I think, this continued birthing of this new paradigm where Aquarian energy represents democracy, like true democracy, where everybody has a voice, versus the energy of Leo, which is very much like, I know what's best, I'll decide for the masses kind of an energy, right? It's the sovereign, the king, queen kind of an energy. So there's like a balancing of that, where we're able to come together, where we're able to birth a new paradigm. This is what this energy and this axis is leading us to, where everybody does have a voice and we are doing what's best for the collective. But in the process of giving everybody a voice, we're not like inadvertently silencing people, and people are still able to express. There's like a there's a balance to it, right? And I think something that I found really interesting when I was involved, I was sort of on the fringes of the Occupy movement back when that happened. I don't know how many of you remember that. Occupy Wall Street. That was back in like 2011. That was actually when I was first getting clean. And I was so excited by that movement and just the energy of what was behind it, right? But one thing that I did notice was when people would get together to try to make decisions, it was really hard to figure out how to give everybody a voice and an opinion, and at the same time actually come to any kind of conclusion or consensus. And that's why I think sometimes, and the media definitely played a part in it, as well as like skewing the voice and like the purpose of the movement, right? They wanted to see that confusion. But I think there was a lot, it turned into this desire for social justice in every single form, right? And that's what kind of started to dilute some of its message, was because of that energy of like, everybody having a voice. So it's like there's an art to that. How does everybody have a voice, but still we actually get things done, right? How do we actually come to an agreement? And the only way to actually come to an agreement is for everyone to get really truly centered in their hearts. And that's the Leo energy, because Leo is the energy that represents the heart above all else. So it's going to be interesting to see, and we're going to see this energy as we continue to move through Pluto and Aquarius, really rooting through these energies, really as Pluto brings out the dark side of this energy, right? The dark side of these different movements, the dark side of democracy even. It's going to be fascinating to see sort of all the shifts and changes that we go through as we navigate these waters, as Pluto helps us to really understand how it is that we can come together collectively in order to actually get things done. What else do we want to say about that? But it's like part of what I think is really crystallizing within all of us right now, because remember, it's like in order to come together successfully and create collective change, we have to have a clear collective mission that we're in agreement on, right? But we also have to be really clear within ourselves, what we truly think, what we truly believe, what truly matters to us. And so there's a real crystallization of that going on right now. And this real energy of like, know thyself. And that to me, when we're speaking about Aquarius, is kind of the first step in the Aquarian energies. Like Aquarius is the humanitarian. But first they have to get really clear in who they are. They have to truly embrace and love themselves, accept themselves, all their quirks, all their flaws, right? Drop the rebel without a cause energy. Drop the I'm rebelling just because it feels like the thing to do, because that's what defines me, right? And really sink into just embracing who they are, regardless of whether it goes with the crowd or not, really rooting into who we are and allowing our true vibration to anchor and activate what we call our soul song, which is that vibration, that frequency that we emit when we are really rooted and grounded in the truth of who we are. Once we do that, our natural gifts and abilities begin to emerge. We naturally begin to gain this wisdom, right? We get really rooted, grounded, and tapped into ourselves. And then it becomes very clear what we have to offer the collective as a whole and what part we can play within that process of the collective evolution. So we're still in kind of like the baby stages of that process, that Age of Aquarius process, where it's like we're getting to know thyself. We're discarding all of what we are not. We're stepping more deeply into who and what we are. So there's this real need to love and embrace the self and to get really honest with ourselves. And that's the energy that I was feeling with this Saturn and Neptune, particularly where they're in retrograde. This energy here is very much feeling to me when Saturn comes into conjunction with Neptune, particularly in a retrograde, it's a reality check. It's where we have to get really clear and honest with ourselves in areas of our lives where perhaps we have been wanting to not really acknowledge the truth, where we've been sort of like pushing things to the side, This is interesting, and obviously it's related because it's coming to my mind right now. So something I've been learning about is the reticular activating system, and how essentially the reticulating activating system, it is sort of the filter for our perception. So it decides out of all the stimulus around us at all times, all the information, what it is that our eyes perceive, what it is that our brain recognizes and perceives. And the way that it filters through all of this information is by utilizing and tapping into our subconscious. Because remember, our subconscious dictates most of our reality. Our subconscious is like close to 90% of our brain function. Our subconscious is where all our belief systems are located, most of which were downloaded by the time we reached 7 years of age, programmed into us. All right, anyone who follows this channel, you're familiar with this because we talk about this all the time because it's so important. And so the RAS, or the RAS, the reticular activating system, is essentially the network of neurons and neural pathways that tap into what the subconscious believes, and then utilizes that in order to decide what of all the information and stimulus around us our brain absorbs. So this is where we can look at kind of like a scientific explanation for this energy of, and now I'm forgetting what it's called, where you only recognize that which aligns with your perspective and your beliefs. It's not disassociation, it's cognitive. Somebody help me out here. If you guys in the chat know what I'm talking about right now. Cognitive dissonance, that's what it is. So the reticular activating system is what's responsible for that. And so why am I talking about the reticular activating system right now? It's about, I think it has to do with our awareness. Oh, Saturn and Neptune, that's why. So we're kind of, right now we're getting an opportunity to see where it is that we've filtered out information that contradicts with our worldview, that contradicts with our perception of ourselves, of the world. And we're kind of getting a reality check around some of that, where it's like what we are meant to see, perceive, and understand at this point in our journey is becoming more clear. And we're not really able to run from it. We're having to acknowledge it. All right, so this is like a major paradigm shift. And as this paradigm shift is happening internally, we're going to see that continuing to ripple out into the world around us. So this is, I think this new moon is a big point where we're going to continue to see that revolutionary energy, both in individuals and within collectives, right? This is where we're really seeing that push for change, and where people are becoming really concerned with their own integrity, their own leadership, and with where that we're seeing that energy in the outside world, the people that are leading us, the people that are governing us. So this is just another big impetus, another transformative energy that is pushing us deeper into self-sovereignty, self-governship, and the requirement that those in the outside assuming those positions are also in integrity, in alignment with our vision, with our worldview. But at the same time, any of those cracks in our worldview, anywhere where we have been seeing something in a way that has been out of kilter, out of focus, out of balance, this new moon is helping to bring that into balance. If we're resistant to that, it could be quite uncomfortable. But if we're willing to see what's being revealed to us, if we're willing to look at it and look at it in balance, then this can be like a really beautiful kind of eye-opening experience that allows for a next level of transformation within our own selves, and therefore within the reality that we are experiencing. This is an opportunity to step more deeply into self-love, self-acceptance, and also to really anchor more deeply into our hearts with this Leo energy, and to begin to truly embrace the paradigm shift that's occurring. So one of the examples that I want to share with you guys is like my own inner paradigm shift that's been going on. And Some of the stuff that I'm going to share here is going to be kind of out there for some people. I understand this. I honor this. If that's true, then that's okay. You know what I mean? We're all at different levels of what we're seeing and perceiving. We all have different phases of this journey that we're going through. But for me, there's a certain level, because there's so many levels of truth, right? Like on this channel, we talk a lot about the false matrix. We talk about this overlay of reality, this sort of simulation or hologram that our consciousness has been placed in, that we are breaking free from, which is what many term this process of ascension, right? And so one of the things that I have kind of like registered, but my reticular activating system is kind of pushed to the fringes of my mind because I don't want to think about it, because it contradicts with so much of what I think about that brings me joy, is this idea that the stars that we see are actually a fixed hologram. And this idea that so much of what we perceive is actually not, it's part of that false construct, right? So there's truth, and there's like a real star system beyond the one that's projected to us, right? That little spinning globe that we see of the same stars repeating over and over. You know what I mean? And this just the depth of the construct and the falsity of the construct and how deep it goes, essentially. So there's been a lot that's been coming into my awareness about that. And I have some of it when it's been coming into my awareness, I'm like, oh my God, that resonates so deeply. And it's empowering, right? But it's also really like challenging a lot of the stuff that I hold true, you know? It's challenging, you know, connecting with the archangels, connecting with the Pleiadians and all of this stuff. And it's like where my paradigm shift is taking me is further away from that and further into connecting with my own self, my own sovereignty, my own soul flame, and my own connection to source consciousness. And so there's just a depth of the level of interference that is present that I've wanted to gloss over. So that's where my own inner paradigm shift is happening right now. That's where the layer of illusion is being peeled away to another extent to me. And it is uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I don't want to think that the ships that I see fly overhead that I'm so happy to see are actually like not benevolent, right? I don't want to think about the fact that a lot of this love light signals that I feel like I'm feeling from some of these crafts are actually just mimicking that energy and my own love light energy and bouncing it back to me. You know, I don't want to think about the fact that instead of tapping into all of this, you know, what I see out there, I need to just go deeper in here. That what's truly real is right here, that maybe none of this is real, right? Except what's in here. But this is where my own individual journey is taking me. Your journey could be taking you anywhere. You know what I mean? It's taking you to another level, though. That's the point. And it's taking you to a level that makes you feel uncomfortable. And that's okay. And it's okay to exist in both worlds at once, if that's where you're at. You know, that's kind of where I'm at right now. You know, when I look at up at the sky and I look up at the stars and everything, I set that intention that I'm seeing through the hologram, that I'm connecting with the true organic divine crystalline blueprint, that I'm connecting with my true star brothers and sisters outside of the echo, outside of the hologram, outside of the false matrix, that I'm connecting through my heart. All right. At the same time, lighting up my source flame, which to me is a rainbow flame that essentially burns my whole body, is like the wick of a candle, right? And I light that up. Every color, all the colors of the rainbow, black, gold, silver, every color is within that flame. All right. I tap into that flame everywhere that I am all the time, and that anchors me in my sovereignty. And I set that intention that I am only communicating with benevolence. You know what I mean? But I still am willing to look. I'm willing to look deeper. I'm willing to entertain these ideas that make me uncomfortable. That's the point. But at the same time, I'm not allowing myself to go into this endless loop where I'm just like feeling like lost and frustrated and discouraged. No matter what deeper truth surfaces, or should I say, every time a deeper truth surfaces, I move deeper into my sovereignty. And I allow it to be more and more empowering. Because the ultimate truth of all of this is it doesn't matter if we're in a simulation, right? The minute that we remember the truth of who we are, the minute we connect to our eternal source flame, we become that crack in the matrix. We become that glitch in the matrix. We begin to see through the illusion. All right? And some of us, particularly those of you who are drawn to this channel, the people who don't just scroll by, the people who stay for the live streams, the people who comment, the people who resonate, we are the glitches in the matrix. We came here because our soul flame burned so bright that there was a part of us that could not forget. There was a part of us that always remembered. Even when we thought we had forgotten, or even, I guess, when what remembering or forgetting wasn't even a thought in our minds, right? We are put here to break the code, to plug in the new code, right? To scramble the code, I guess you could say. So congratulations, you guys are doing a great job, wherever you are at in that process. And that's the thing that I've realized too, is we don't have to figure it all out. We don't have to figure it all out. All we have to do is be willing to open our minds to the possibilities, while at the same time staying anchored in the truth of who we are. And I don't mean our ego identity, right? I don't mean our earth name that we were given. I don't mean the stories of our childhood, right? I mean the truth of who we are, that flame that burns inside. So this new moon is a beautiful gateway to connect us more powerfully with that by stripping away another layer of illusion and by stripping away another layer of self-doubt, lack of confidence. That black moon Lilith energy, especially in Sagittarius, like I love Lilith in Sag. All right, this is a new energy for her that I'm like, she's been in Scorpio, she's been in a lot of other signs. I mean, it's not, she's been in Sag before, right? But I haven't really tapped into her in Sag yet that I can remember. So I actually am really enjoying this because in Sagittarius, she is inviting us to tap into the more taboo ideologies, belief systems. She's inviting us to question. Right? She's inviting us to look deeper, to question the doctrines and the dogmas, to question our own internal paradigms, and to synthesize a deeper sense of wisdom. In Sagittarius, Black Moon Lilith is leading us to true freedom. Freedom within the mind, freedom from dogma and ideology. So I really, really love her energy in that sign of Sagittarius. And like we said, I love that we got Mercury retrograde in a trine to the Great Attractor right now as well. The Great Attractor, the most magnetic point in space, or one of the most magnetic points in space. All right? Transmitting those quantum wavelengths of consciousness. The Great Attractor, one of my favorite things about the energy of the Great Attractor is the fact that the Great Attractor really speaks to what we say on this channel all the time, that phrase that myself and my friend Kayla, that I had my original channel with, Intuitive Insights with Kayla and Cassia, we used to say all possibilities are possible, right? That's the energy of the Great Attractor. The Great Attractor loves paradoxes. It loves all viewpoints and possibilities. What I like to call kind of like that diamond consciousness, because you think about all the facets of the diamond, right? That's like the type of consciousness that sees everything, that contains every possibility. So that's what this energy, especially Mercury retrograde, is reprogramming the mind. That is the energy of rewriting beliefs. So Mercury to the great attractor. So there is some aspect or level of our consciousness that is being reprogrammed or rewritten right now, allowing for that expansion to take place if we choose. You know, there's lower ways that this energy can manifest too, right? Like that's the highest form of this energy, this new moon. Lower forms of this energy could be really getting stuck in old belief systems, could be power struggles with that opposition to Pluto, could be this energy of needing to get our way, this energy of being overly focused on the self, that my way or the highway kind of energy. You could be dealing with people like that during this new moon. All right, this is an energy, just like everything, that's offering us that great choice. Do you want to dig your heels in more firmly and stay entrenched in an old paradigm that is not working for you, that is becoming outdated, or do you want to grow and evolve? You can flow with your evolution or you can fight it. You can go with the tide or you can fight the tide. But guess what? The tide will always go in and out. I'm having this really interesting conversation last night. We were talking about this theory that my partner presented to me about how the universe was expanded and stretched out. And now it's in a constriction phase where it's coming back together, and that's why time is moving more quickly. And it's sort of like when you stretch out dimensions and energy, it becomes flat and it kind of like seals off the holes in the dimensions. And then as you begin bringing it back together, it's like that energy opens up again, if that makes any sense. So it's sort of like everything is opening up, but like it's enmeshing together again, in a sense, and everything's constricted, coming together. So it's sort of like the expansion and then everything coming back to source. And we talk about how everything is a process of constriction and expansion, right? And so I had said, what if this whole experience that we're having is just source taking a breath, right? The in-breath, as the lungs expand, is the expansion of consciousness, the creation of all the multiverse, right? And then the out-breath, the exhale, is when it all comes back in together. So we're literally every seemingly infinite experience of creation and expansion is actually just an in-breath of source, and it's just source breathing in and out, expanding and collapsing consciousness. I thought that was kind of a funny way to think about and perceive reality. So I don't know. I'm sharing that with you guys. Maybe somebody else finds that as amusing as I did. And so my friend was like, oh, so it's sort of like source is meditating, right? And we're the meditation. Yeah. So where else do we want to go with that? This energy on a more mundane level, I guess you could say, is like working with this energy of this new moon. It's really a process. It's with this Pluto energy here, with this support from Saturn and Neptune, as well as Black Moon Lilith. It's really allowing us to create something beautiful. So on a more simplistic level, just think about this new moon in Leo as an opportunity to create something new and powerful. What is it that you want to create? Version of yourself, a version of your reality, and speak that into being, right? Perform that with that Leo energy. So this is really like our manifestation or creation process with this new moon energy. The more performative it is and the more heart-centered it is, the more powerful it's going to be, because that is the energy of Leo. So this is where it's going to be especially powerful if you're using visualizations where you're speaking something or you're acting something out with somebody, one of the great ideas that I had that I've never actually done yet, but I really would love to do, is like a dinner party where everybody comes together and celebrates their successes and the amazing things that they've done. And so we're creating our future by talking about the things that we're manifesting as though they've already happened and we're celebrating them happening. So it's like stuff like that is very Leo manifestation. You know what I mean? Performing. Sometimes I call my personal assistant, my future personal assistant on the phone, or I call one of my friends or connections from my future life, and I'm talking as though I am that future version of me. What's going on, what I have planned. And that's a way that I really like to get into that energy of manifesting and creating. So that's very Leo as well. So that's the kind of fun stuff that we can do to work with this Leo moon as far as what it is that we're initiating and creating. And this is a really powerful time to really step into this energy of owning this new version of ourselves, whatever it is, whoever it is that we've been becoming, right? As we've been letting go of these belief structures, as we've been letting go of these old outdated paradigms, it's like a really beautiful possibility to step onto the stage is what Spirit's showing me as this new version of you. So it's almost like the words that are coming through right now are like the unveiling. So Spirit's saying this new moon is the unveiling of the new version of you, of the you that you've been becoming through all your shadow work, through all your meditation, all your journaling, all your dream work, all your stepping into your power, all your, whatever it is that you've been doing, however it is that you've been growing and healing, whatever it is that you've been releasing. This is like the unveiling of that next version of you and of that next new version, that new timeline. And the new moon in Leo, this is also like an opening energy for the Lion's Gate, really stepping into that. So we're going to feel that energy beginning to pick up. And July 26th, which is 2 days after the new moon, and that is, I believe that's Friday this week, Saturday. That is the Galactic New Year. So, and the Galactic New Year goes by the galactic calendar. It's a 13 moon calendar as opposed to a 12-month cycle. So it's lunar based. It's flowing with the energies of creation, right? When the Gregorian calendar was created, it was created to kind of fracture time, to put us in an artificial sort of energy of time. So the Galactic New Year is another version of the new year. So we got a couple. We got the astrological new year. That's Aries season. That's when that begins in tropical astrology. That's in March, the middle of March with the spring equinox. Then we have, of course, the Gregorian, the traditional, what we call the Muggle New Year, which is January 1st, right? 1/1. But then we also have the Galactic New Year on July 26th. So that's coming right up here. And that for a lot of people is what they imagine as the beginning of the Lion's Gate, the 888 portal energies. So I feel that really opening up with this new moon. So this is tapping us into that energy of infinity, of abundance, that energy of the lion and everything that the lion represents. The lion is that Leo energy. This is that energy of royalty. It's that energy of our cosmic heritage and lineage. This is where we really step into our power. That to me is one of the greatest things that Leo energy represents. It's stepping into our power, claiming our sovereignty and our royalty, claiming our lineage, claiming our energy. So this is always my favorite time of year. And I'm really excited to see how each and every single one of us is stepping into this energy, stepping on stage, so to speak, as this new version of ourselves. And I want to look, before we pull the cards here, if I can find it, just take a look at what else we have going on this week that's worthy of a mention, an honorable mention, we could say, before we go into the cards. Let's see, today is the 23rd. Venus squaring Mars, so that's a little bit of tension there between our masculine and feminine energies. Venus and Gemini, little all over the place, right? She doesn't really want to be pinned down. She wants to do her own thing. She wants to flow. She wants to go with wherever the energy is leading her. Whereas Mars in Virgo really wants to get things done. So this is like the aspect of our being that wants to get the to-do list done, that wants to perhaps be more serious about things, versus the Venus and Gemini energy that just wants to flirt and have fun and enjoy her life, right? So those aspects of our energy, or perhaps those aspects within our lives being acted out by different people as well, wanting different things from us. So sort of that tug of war energy that's created there. However, Venus and Gemini is a beautiful energy of inspiration and creativity. So if we can take that and we can harmonize that with the Mars energy, perhaps we can utilize that Mars and Virgo focused energy in order to accomplish something that feeds our spirit and to accomplish some sort of creative endeavor or something like that. Let's see. Sun trine Saturn. So that's a beautiful energy. Saturn and Neptune, of course, as they are connected. So that is a beautiful energy. And that's during the new moon here. And that is part of our little kite formation. So that's really tapping into that whole energy that we talked about. I kind of didn't mention those parts of the kite. So in addition to Pluto, Black Moon, Lilith there, Pluto being flanked by Neptune, Saturn, and on the other side, Black Moon, Lilith, we also have these beautiful trines going on between the Sun and the Moon and Black Moon, Lilith, and Saturn and Neptune. So that's all part of that beautiful harmonizing aspect that we talked about with the kite when we're talking about the trines with Saturn and Neptune there. So just a lot of beautiful energy bringing through this inspiration, bringing through this beauty, calling on us to bring through a divine truth, to embody our own divine truth, and really giving us that opportunity to step into the world with that renewed sense of confidence. But also that open-mindedness, right, that we were talking about as our perception is continuing to open, expand, and shift. Let's see. Chiron, stations retrograde. So that is a big energy that we're going to be experiencing this week as well. Chiron's going to station retrograde on the 30th of July as Venus enters the sign of Cancer. So that's going to be a big transition day, as we have Venus now entering into those feeling intuitive waters of Cancer. Where is Jupiter within Cancer right now? I want to take a look. Jupiter's at 10 degrees. Yep, so we're going to have Venus entering in there as well, bringing more of that Cancer energy into our awareness. That's home, family, nurturing, intuition, self-care, all of those energies, those more personal energies. So Venus is going to be feeling a lot more personal as she moves into the sign of Cancer. Whereas she's much more explorative in the sign of Gemini. She's much more expressive in the like outward kind of like social context. In Cancer, she's expressive on a deeper, more personal level. She's wanting to slow down, to settle down a little bit. So this is where we're going to feel our energy really settle in a sense, as Venus shifts into that sign of Cancer. And then, of course, as she moves, she will eventually come into a conjunction with Jupiter. I'm not sure when that is yet. Let me look at this little book here. Yes, and then on the 31st, we're going to have the Sun moving into conjunction with Mercury. Like we said, Mercury's at 13 degrees in that trine to the great attractor right now. So at the end of the month, the Sun's going to have moved on and come into that connection with Mercury. So it feels like a big breakthrough. Like Mercury connecting with the great attractor right now is bringing in that perspective, really rewriting that subconscious, that unconscious process, as we said, and reprogramming the brain in a sense. And then as the Sun comes into conjunction at the end of the month with Mercury, it's kind of like that energy breaks through into the consciousness. So some people might experience this. It feels almost as like spontaneous awakenings or activations, but it's really what's already been brewing within the unconscious being brought into the consciousness, being brought into the conscious awareness. All right. And I'm looking for that conjunction of Jupiter and Venus. I know it's coming. Maybe not. Hold on, let me fast forward this. While I am, we can talk a little bit about Chiron retrograde. And I'm going to, let me look this up for you guys. Chiron is going to be retrograde from from the Galactic New Year, right? July 26th. I didn't connect that when I saw it here, but I'm connecting it there. To December 29th. Oh, never mind, guys. That's an old retrograde from 2024. Hold on. Give me a second here. All right. July 30th. There we go. That's why I didn't connect it, because that wasn't accurate. July 30th to January 2nd. And Chiron is really completing this powerful cycle in Aries. It's not over yet, but Chiron is moving toward, I actually want to look at when Taurus in 2026. Yeah. So this is, and of course there will be a retrograde back into Aries. 2027 is when Chiron will be firmly within the sign of Taurus. But this is it. We're wrapping this up for the Chiron and Aries generation. I don't even know if generation is the right word here, but for those with Chiron and Aries, so people with Chiron and Aries have been experiencing their Chiron returns. This happens around the age of 50. It's typically, for most people, a once in a lifetime situation. It is, I think, honestly, probably more profound than the Saturn return. We get a couple of those, 2 or 3, depending on how long we live. Chiron returns, like I said, we typically only get one, and it's at that true halfway point in our lives, right? Around 50 years old. So it's a big, big deal, this Chiron return. So if you have your Chiron in the later degrees of Aries, you're going to be experiencing that Chiron return right around now. And this retrograde, when Chiron retrogrades during your Chiron return cycle, it's a big review point as far as this is probably, like we said, one of the biggest shifts as far as like this initiation into the second phase of your life, right? And adulthood, absolutely. Chiron currently at 27 degrees. And I'm going to look here. So that's July 30th. I didn't put that down here. How could I not have thought that was important enough to write down? Well, we got the date anyway. It's going to be right around 27 degrees. I can actually fast forward a chart here and give you guys definitive, but Chiron doesn't move that fast, so I'm assuming that Chiron is still going to be at 27 degrees when it starts its retrograde. See here. Yep, 27 degrees, 10 minutes of Aries. So, as Chiron goes retrograde, regardless of whether or not we're having our Chiron return, we're going to be experiencing that deeper energy where we honestly get a deeper level of healing. We look at Chiron as the wounded healer. So a lot of people look at Chiron as this planet that represents our deepest wounds. So we think, oh, Chiron retrograde, this is going to be fun, right? All my wounds are going to come up. You know, I'm going to be triggered left and right, particularly in the sign of Aries, which is very reactive. But the fact of the matter is Chiron retrograde is a lot of the integration of the healing that we've done. And so it honestly is a really beautiful time where, yes, wounds may be triggered, but we're in the process of really integrating all the wisdom that we've learned from all the times that we've been triggered already. So it could actually be a less triggering time for some people, depending on what it's, you know, bumping up against in your natal chart. And if you want a chart reading, transit chart, whatever, reach out to me, email me. Annika's dropping my information in the chat. It's always in the description box of all my videos as well. All right. So, yeah, there's a deeper level of healing as Chiron moves into retrograde. And in Aries, as a collective, we've been healing wounds around our empowerment, our masculine energy, our relationship to masculine energy, around our willpower, our ability to succeed, to go after what we want, our health, our vitality, our drive, right? Our sexuality. There's a lot of powerful energies here. So this is really profound. As a collective, we're really wrapping up the cycle of deep healing around our masculine energy so that we can, as a collective, begin to embody more of a divine masculine versus a wounded masculine energy. Now, let us, I almost wanted to say, now let us pray. We're going to move on to August here. Because what is a week, actually? You guys know I get so confused about this. So if we're looking about the week ahead, we're looking until the 30th. All right. So we'll stop it right there. The 30th is that big day of shift. You're going to feel a shift and change in the energy. And then we're going to be in the warm-up. And as Venus, the warm-up for the 8-8 was what I was about to say before I interrupted myself to bring you this reminder that as Venus enters Cancer, because we have Saturn and Neptune in the very early degrees of Aries, she is going to be in a square to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So there is going to be some of that energy too, where that energy that we talked about, that reality check energy, there may be something around that, whether it comes to our finances, whether it comes to our priorities, whether it comes to love and connection and relationship. There may be something that we've been missing or haven't been seeing clearly about ourselves, our perspective, our relationship to the material world, or those that we love and care about dearly, right? With that Cancer energy, something that comes into greater focus, perhaps through some energy of tension or conflict. So we want to be aware of that. Now I want to pull a few cards here regarding these energies. And before I do that, I'm going to go over the chat. If I talk too much to people, it gets so distracting sometimes. So I'm trying to find like middle grounds here. I know I saw in the very beginning, Madam Chakra hopping on. So if you're still on, hello. The Feral Elf, I saw you on here. Hello, log out. Yeah, well, Chiron, so Saturn, our Saturn or Chiron returns are also really crucial. You could call those like midlife crisis type energies. So if you are around 50 or 60, honestly, I know they say 40 is like the midlife crisis zone, but really astrologically speaking, we're looking at 50 or we're looking at 30, 50, and 60-ish as sort of those big defining moments within our lives. And I had also mentioned for anybody who has Pluto located in Scorpio, those Pluto squares are going on as well. Right now, if you have your Pluto in the early degrees of Scorpio, so if you are a Pluto and Scorpio generation like myself, then you are experiencing your Pluto square. You only get one of those in your lifetime too, and that is a similar energy to like a Chiron return or something like that. It's that intensity, that intense transformation. All right, so we're really being put through it. Pluto is initiating us in a very powerful sense here into the next phase of our power, right? Because Pluto represents power above all else. Life, death, magic, and power, wealth. Whoops. All right, where are we going here? So who else am I saying hi to here? Probably going to skip over that one. Hello, Nate. I'm so glad you're here with us. Hello, beautiful Plune. Hello, Alessandro, Trail of Tears, Pierre. And log out. I'm not necessarily predicting the future so much as I'm just tapping into the astrological energies. and how they may be affecting us. And it's different it affects different people differently as well. And there's no necessarily like, this is exactly what it is, right? There's infinite timelines, infinite possibilities. We're also all creating our own individual realities, which means that not the entire collective isn't going to experience everything the same, right? There's going to be differences in the way we experience, because we are, in a sense, we're co-creating a greater reality, but we're also individually creating our own realities. It's really fascinating the way all of that works. Hello, Nate. Hello, Stevie. Great to see you, brother. Kosh, Nicholas. Hello, hello. All right. Joni, hello, beautiful. Hello, Mel. Hello, Joshua. Hello, Nate. Welcome if you're still on, Nate. First time viewing the channel. Got the 888. Love that. It's one of my big numbers right now. All right. Okay, I think we finished with all of this. I think somebody was commenting on the size of my head. I think it all depends on, like, these screens are so funny too. I would say like, I could see where you're coming from with that, interestingly enough. I would say, to me though, the older I get, the more I feel like I look like an elf or something. Like, I don't know. It's interesting the way that we start changing. Like, some of it is like as we move through chronological years, but I think some of it's just like energy too, as we start integrating more of our multidimensionality. I think some of us like we literally start looking more alien. Can anybody else tell me if you've experienced that as you move through this process, where you feel like you look more like an alien every day, or an elf or a nymph or some other type of creature? You know what I mean? It's like you notice it more. You're like, wait a minute, did I always look like that? Or is that more? It's almost like as you tap into your magic more, you start looking like some kind of magical creature. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that or not. Let me know, and if any of you are feeling that. Julie, please do. Yes. Go ahead and email me if you have any extra questions about Sedona. For anyone who's not aware, we are doing we're doing a retreat in Sedona for the 999 portal. As we remember who we are, we tap back into our joy, we tap back into our sovereignty. We're gonna go frolic and have fun, and it's gonna be absolutely incredible. I'm so excited. We're going to commune with the lands of Sedona, with her magical creatures, and it's going to be great. So there's two options for that. There is an option to stay in the Airbnb with me and have some extra bonus activities and fun, or to meet up with us during the daytime. And so this would be where you get your own lodging, all of that. You kind of do your own thing, but you meet up with us and go on hikes and sort of excursions together for 3 days. And the staying in the Airbnb with me is essentially 5 days. So 2 different options. You can check those all out in the description box below. Annika's dropping some links for Sedona as well. It's going to be the meetup portion is going to be the 9th through the 11th, and the full package is going to be the 8th through the 13th. I'm really looking forward to seeing who else is going to join us. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. It's one of the most magical places in the world, particularly when you know how to show up in your sovereignty, when you know how to show up free of infringement without allowing or consenting to infringement, because we know they try like hell to infringe upon those locations. That's why it's so important for people who are sovereign to show up in these locations and share their light. And we're going to be doing it. We're going to be shining bright, and we are not going to be entertaining any of those lower frequencies. It's going to be amazing. So there is that, if you want to check that out. Also, I will mention for everyone in the description box below, there are links if you wish to donate as well. There are links to do that. I have also added addresses if anybody wants to donate in cryptocurrency. I have a ton of addresses in the description box for that as well, so you know where to send that to. So I am opening up to accepting abundance, accepting energy exchange in many different forms. You can find all of that in the description box below. If you love these videos, if they're really helping you out, but you're not, ready or able to go to Sedona or anything like that, or join the channel membership, but you do want to donate, there's lots of options for that. So Annika's dropping a link down there. That one is, I think, for PayPal. And like I said, there's more links for different sites like PayPal, Venmo, as well as, like I said, different crypto donation links as well in the description box below, as well as the share button. So if you feel called, feel free. It is not a requirement. You just being here with me is a beautiful exchange of energy. I appreciate you all so much. You are incredible. If you would be so kind to like this video, though, that would be a fabulous donation from each and everybody who is enjoying this live stream, because that does help to get these videos out to more people. Clear. Trusting that spirit will guide all those who absolutely need to hear these messages to find them. Nate says his birthday's coming up. Yeah, and so the fascinating thing about religion, before we get into the cards here, is there's a lot of truth in religion. There's also a lot of inversion, meaning there's a lot of programming and a lot of ways that they twisted the truth in order to serve a certain agenda, right? And that's the agenda of power and control. And so I think when people decide that they want to break away from their religious roots, they feel sometimes like they have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like they have to break away from all of it. And there is a way to honor the aspects of your upbringing or the religion that you were once aligned with, that do resonate with your soul, while discarding the pieces that don't. So setting that intention to find the pieces that do, and to move out of that black and white thinking that says, like, if I align with somebody who's reading tarot or talking about astrology, that means that I can't align with, for instance, Christianity, because they say she's the devil, right? There's a middle ground. We don't have to discard everything. Or saying, like, if I'm no longer a Christian, that means that I can't connect with what Christians call Jesus, we call Yeshua or Yeshua, right? Like, you absolutely can. So it's just open yourself up to experiencing more, to understanding more, to learning more, and judging by your heart. Let your heart and your resonance be the guide. And I saw Tammy on there. So hello, beautiful Tammy. And then somebody said, who's who in Sedona? What does that mean? I don't understand the question. About who's who. If you can clarify what the question is for that. Do you mean who's going to Sedona? Is that what the question is? Clear. All right, we're going to pull some cards. What do we need to know about this new moon in Leo and the upcoming week? If anybody in the chat is going and they would like to share that, feel free to do so. Exactly who's meant to go is going is how I will weigh into that. So far, I'm waiting. We haven't had a big sign up for the meetup. We are filling up as far as the B&B goes, but we haven't had too many. I haven't had anyone sign up for the meetup yet. So it looks like at the moment we don't have a ton of people just for the day meetup. It would be cool if we could get more people together, because then ideally they would be able to connect with each other. Maybe if they wanted to share, say, Airbnbs together. Obviously, I'm not recommending that anybody do anything that would put their safety at risk if this is strangers, you know what I mean? I'm just saying some people might be doing things like that. If they were, that might be, you know, something that could save on costs as well. What I will say is that anybody who does sign up for the meetup, I am adding to a group chat. So that way they're able to communicate with each other, or the retreat. Everyone's going to be in a group chat together. So that way people will be able to connect before the trip as well as during the trip. All right. What do we need to know about this energy? I just got the energy of Scorpio popped into my mind. I know we have Pluto active here. So maybe that has something to do with the Scorpio. Maybe it's just that scorpionic energy, that energy of change and transformation, 8th house energy here. We've got the 5th house as the cards that came out with Virgo. I feel like there's an energy here with this new moon of really beginning to understand our creations, the part we play in our creations, and elevating that level of creation, like taking that to the next level. What it is that we're manifesting and creating, how we're showing up in our lives. It feels like to me for some people during this new moon, it's almost like you see this like fun house energy here. I feel like some people are going to feel like they're in a fun house, and all of a sudden they look around and they're like, what, how did this even happen? You know what I mean? Like, how did this become my reality? Like, what is even going on here? And then that is going to become clear. It's like the cause, what it is that we're creating, why we're creating it, is going to become more clear. And there's going to be this beautiful opportunity to clear that energy and to create something with focused intention. We have the Virgo card here. We have Mars currently in Virgo. So really allowing us to take those precise actions. This is also about letting the mask slip away. No longer feeling the need to wear the mask. So I feel for quite a lot of people around this new moon in Virgo, there's going to be, or this new moon in Virgo, that's going to be around September, actually, speaking of the Sedona. We're going to, so the meetup is going to be for the 999 portal, which is 99. It's a 9 year, right? So September 9th of a 9 years, 999. But it's going to be right after the eclipse, which is occurring on the 7th. So we're going to be right in that eclipse energy too, which is going to make it extra powerful. Just throwing that out there. So there's going to be this energy of finally feeling comfortable taking off the mask. Or for some people, it's not even finally feeling comfortable. It's just finally being so uncomfortable playing the role that you've been playing that you're like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm done trying to measure up to some impossible standard. I'm done trying to be somebody that I'm not. I'm done trying to fit in places that I don't, right? I'm done trying to wear the mask, right? It's hot in here. It's stuffy in here. I don't want to do it anymore. And so it's like that freedom when you rip that thing off. And you're like, I can finally breathe. That's what this new moon in Leo is going to be for some people. For some, this new moon may not be the moment that you rip off the mask, but it may be the moment that it gets so suffocating and stifling that you realize that you have to. And then you get the choice, right? For some people, it's like you're being asked to become much more disciplined with your creativity too. If you've been receiving inspiration, if you've been receiving insights, but you haven't been putting them into practice, it's time to do that, is what Spirit's saying. This is also like creative solutions to health problems or health challenges to self-care. This is like where we're learning how to become more creative with our day-to-day responsibilities, with our day-to-day goals, with the way that we show up in our lives. So I really like that. Got the Void of Course moon there. All right, I'm feeling like I want to pull some tarot on the creativity card. And this is the Leo house, right? The 5th house. So I love that. Yeah, I want to pull some cards, some tarot here. Absolutely. Magic Carpet said it better than I could right there. Or about the same as I would. Absolutely. Tapping into the most likely potential timelines based on the current trajectory of energy. I'm tuning into the energy of a particular collective as well. If you're not resonating with it, you may not be part of this collective that I am channeling for. If just the fact that I'm channeling is making you uncomfortable, that's okay. Embrace that, lean into that. If somebody here is uncomfortable, but they're still watching, there's a part of you that is curious, and that's okay. There's a part of you, there's a light within you that's resonating perhaps with the light within me, with the light within this tribe. So just lean into the discomfort. All right? Receive the love that we are sending to you. And try not to take it all too seriously. We're just playing with the energies here. We're just seeing what guidance wants to come through. From my higher self to yours. Clear. So what is this? Let's tap more into this 5th house energy, this creativity. This is an opportunity for some people to get out of their analytical mind. To tap into, it's like a balancing of the right and the left hemispheres is what I'm feeling, the masculine and the feminine, the logic and the intuition, but also an ability to tap more into whatever side of that spectrum may be out of balance or underworked. So I guess underworked is the best way. Kind of like a muscle that's a little less developed. Most of us, either the right or the left hemisphere is a little bit underworked. So this is like a balancing of that energy. Got the Hanged Man. So we got that shift in perspective going on here. He was right side up though. So I'm also feeling this as when the Hanged Man is right side up, he's coming out of a pause. Oh, this is interesting. The Hanged Man can also represent a sacrifice. So I'm feeling this energy of somebody who once thought that they had to sacrifice something in order to get something else or have something else. And they're realizing they didn't have to sacrifice that thing at all. They get to have the whole enchilada. This is somebody coming out of the martyr energy is what I'm feeling here. The martyr energy or the martyr paradigm is where we sacrifice ourselves excessively for the other. Because of some call of duty. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't make sacrifices for others. Right? I'm not saying the sense of duty is a bad thing. But in this case, I'm feeling that it was. It was kind of like an unmanageable energy. Or like an energy signature that needed to be shifted. Where someone realized they didn't have to be the martyr in situations. They didn't have to sacrifice their well-being for others. It's like an energy of like everybody gets to win. Is what I'm feeling here. A win-win energy. It's like somebody figures out that divine lightning bolt of inspiration comes down. In a situation where it felt like there always had to be a winner and a loser, all of a sudden another possibility. This is very great attractor energy here. Galactic center energy here. Another possibility presents itself. That's a win-win. So I love that. What else here? So it's like creative solutions to perceived problems. And thank you guys, by the way. I love you so much. Classy. That's something that's something I never got called back in the day. It's amazing what time does, huh? All right. We got the 3 of Cups and the 9 of Cups here. Hello. This is celebration. This is interesting. This energy here, it feels like somebody, like look at that almost like smug look on his face. But it doesn't feel like smug in a condescending way. It feels like somebody who delivers. It's like your wish is my command. That genie in a bottle energy is what I usually say for the 9 of Cups. But it's almost like whether this is, I hate to say source, right? Because we are God. We are the creators of our reality. But we're going to say God or source, for lack of a better word here, is like, oh, you wanted that, right? Here you go. It's like the deliverance of your wishes, your dreams, what was promised to you. And what I mean by what was promised to you was just like what was already yours the entire time, right? Because we are infinite abundance. We are the universe. Everything exists within us. So when we're manifesting something, we're not drawing it to us from out there. We are drawing it from within, right? We're claiming what was already ours. So it's kind of like that energy of somebody claiming what was theirs. But it's almost like it's brought to you by somebody in the physical world is what it feels like with this. If this isn't God, this is like somebody who brings through a blessing and an opportunity that you've been claiming, that you've been aligning your energy with. I wanted to say conjuring for some reason. So that's going to be a specific word that's going to resonate for somebody. And it's cause for great celebration. And perhaps even great reunion here. Oh! Somebody wished for and is manifesting a reunion. It feels like a divine sisterhood, though. Could be brotherhood. It's like soulmates, but not necessarily in the form of like romantic, but like somebody's been calling in their soul tribe and they're coming home. I feel like you're like a beacon right now and you're drawing their energy to you, even if you don't recognize it, because you set out that prayer. You set out that intention. I love that. Ooh, we got the Lovers on the bottom of the deck. This is Gemini energy. This is a choice. It's interesting. I'm feeling the energy of temptation here. Tell me more about this energy. Clear. They're in the Garden of Eden in this particular card. Adam and Eve. Adam's second wife, right? After Lilith. This is interesting. I'm getting this energy of like 2 lovers who are connected, who are maybe so enthralled with one another. Like, you know, in the beginning when you meet somebody and there's like that passionate excitement, like the energy that you try to replicate, maybe depending on, you know, who you are through the rest of your relationship, but you can never quite get back to that. Like when you initially meet somebody and there's just that intense attraction and the fireworks are going off, you know what I mean? Like if only we could maintain that energy, right? But it's like Two people so enthralled with one another that they were missing, they weren't seeing. It was like they were a distraction for each other, and they weren't seeing something else that needed to be seen or recognized. And it's almost like some sort of event that stops them in their tracks, that like commands their attention. Got the Ace of Wands here. Interesting. Inspiration, opportunity. Oh, this is fascinating. This goes beyond just like an individual person that I'm reading for here. This is like the collective here. The collective who's been so distracted by the media, right? By the glitz and the glamour, by the over sexualization of everything, right? They've been chasing shiny things, right? The way that the hamster wheel, the wheel of consumerism, the wheel of addiction, right? That so many people get trapped on. It's like something stopping, almost like a divine intervention that breaks the spell, is what it feels like. That breaks the mass hypnosis. Boom. An opportunity to break free from the spell, to awaken, to break free from the mass hypnosis. That's what this is. What is this opportunity, Spirit? Feels like a celestial wave of energy. I'm being drawn to the void of course moon energy here. Like a celestial wave of energy. So this could be a solar flare. This could even be a cosmic opening that occurs during this new moon portal or gateway. Because remember, new moons, full moons, they're portals. Eclipses are portals. Some of these dates that we talked about are portals. Your own heart is a portal, right? Divine union is a portal. When these energies are used, I don't want to say correctly, to their highest potential, we'll say. So it's an opportunity, some sort of influx of cosmic energy that allows for this opportunity to break out of the hypnosis, to no longer be distracted by these like fleeting carnal pleasures, by the shiny things. Because the wands represent spirit as well. They represent inspiration, but they represent spirituality, creativity. So there's like a spiritual awakening here, a spiritual activation that wakes people up from their slumber. With the snake here behind Eve, I'm even feeling that energy of like the kundalini, right? The snake is the kundalini awakening at the base of the spine. This is a mass awakening here. Oh, thank you so much, Stevie. I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. A mass awakening. Ooh. As we move toward the Lion's Gate, I love this. And then the 999, part of the reason I called the Sedona retreat the I Remember retreat is that energy of remembrance, right? That's what this is, right? This mass awakening, this stirring from the hypnosis, this remembering. Get the King of Cups. Emotional awareness, connection, overflow. This could also be connected to Venus moving into Cancer, right? With Jupiter. Also in the sign of Cancer. Got the Six of Wands, the Ten of Swords, and the Five of Wands. Yeah. This is somebody who is very aware of what they want, who's not willing to fall back into the energy of the past, the distractions of the past. You know what I'm seeing here? See how all of these other people are fighting each other and they're focused on each other, but this guy's looking straight at us. This represents the energy of realizing that this is all a game of distraction. And instead of fighting each other, this is where, so this is the energy. The parallel we can put here is, you know how the system, the dark ones, whatever you want to call them, they keep us fighting each other so we don't see them. So we don't unite and come together against this energy orchestrating all this chaos in the background. This is people finally looking, the architects of the false matrix, or their representatives on the ground anyway, right? Looking them in the eye and saying no more. I'm not falling for your distraction tactics. We could even see a distraction tactic of massive proportion here, right? Some kind of world event. I know I hate to say stuff like this, but it could be that shakes people awake, but then gets people, it's like awake, right? So it gets them to stop and look around for a minute and be like, wait a minute. It's like the Wizard of Oz energy of recognizing, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. All of a sudden, people are noticing the man behind the curtain. That's what this energy is. They're remembering their true power. They're no longer, it's like for some people, I feel like it's also going to be a thing within the collective where the distractions just stop working. Because whether people recognize it or not, when this wave, when this frequency of energy comes through, it's going to shift people into a higher frequency. And even people who aren't consciously aware of it are all of a sudden going to be in a frequency where they've raised and elevated just enough so that the things that used to distract them, that used to keep them comfortable, don't make them comfortable anymore, don't distract them anymore, they don't satisfy them anymore. So for some people, they're going to plunge into a deeper and darker depression or energy, trying to find something else that does. You know, it's like when one drug stops working, so you try to find a stronger drug or a higher dose. But that's not going to work either. So eventually people are going to have to confront. For some people, this energy just represents confronting self. Seeing all the chaos in the outside world and all of a sudden realizing this was just a distraction and this was actually generated by the person in the mirror. And the way to heal that is to look and to really see. Good stuff. So this is a huge collective breakthrough that we're tapping into right now. And I don't know that this is necessarily all exactly connected to the new moon. Maybe some of it is, but it definitely feels like this is what's happening this year. This is the process that we're beginning to initiate right now. This is so exciting. This is huge. This is also just enough people waking up enough to realize that it's time to put the distractions to the side and focus on what really matters. Where we're no longer allowing anybody or anything to keep fracturing and splintering our consciousness, our attention, our power, right? To the point where we're not able to focus and we're not able to actually create any change in our own lives or in the world at large. It's like we're pulling back our energy. We're pulling back our attention and we're refocusing it to where it matters. And that's going to be happening on a grand scale, I think, moving forward here into 2026. Yeah, absolutely. And we got the Sun and the Ace of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck, with the Knight of Swords, which to me represents decisive action. So talk about a breakthrough, right? Talk about vitality, abundance. This is incredible. Then we got the Devil with the Fool in reverse. Don't let your past hold you back. Don't let your attachments hold you back. Your attachments to the old version of yourself, to your old belief systems, to the matrix itself. Stockholm syndrome is a real thing. Millions, billions of people on this planet have it. They don't even realize it because they don't even realize they have captors, right? The very system that has enslaved them, they have become addicted to. They have come to worship, okay? I was going to start getting into the whole false god, how the false god was created. The false god that demands worship, that punishes. The jealous god, right? The god that needs worship and sacrifice. The false god is getting hungry because he's not being fed like he used to be. Where people are breaking free. They're coming to honor the truth that God lives within their hearts, within their own hearts, within their own minds. Not the brain, not the ego construct of the brain, but the mind, the greater consciousness, right? When we worship things outside of ourselves, when we worship money, when we worship celebrities, when we give our power away to sex and drugs and distractions, we're feeding the false god. We're feeding the AI inverted matrix. When we take that energy back, we begin to feed ourselves. And when you start feeding yourself, truly feeding yourself, at first you are ravenous because you didn't realize how hungry you were. People are going to be reclaiming their energy. All the different ways their energy has been siphoned. Reclaiming their time, reclaiming their spirit. I'm so excited for this. Yeah, 8th house underneath the void, of course, moon. Endings, beginnings. South node, life's debts, ending that cycle. Ending the cycle of karma. Ending the cycle of being recycled into the soul trap. We're not doing that anymore, you guys. We're not being tricked into reincarnating into a trap, into a simulation, a hologram, a hollow hologram, an inversion of where we were meant to be. No more. No more. This is what remembering is all about. Remembering our soul flame. Remembering the truth. When you remember the truth of who you are, you can't get suckered into these games anymore. That's how they rigged the game, was causing you to forget. But if you're on this channel with me right now, you remember. And if you don't remember yet, stick around and you will. All right? I love you guys so much. Woo! I just got caught on my chair there. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to go through the comments again before we head out, but that sounds like an interesting place to leave off for today. Yeah. Curtain's been pulled for sure. Soul what? Yep. Hell yeah, Madam Chakra. Write that book. I love that. Yes. Yes. Please do. And share it with us when you're done. Yes, Stevie. Yes. Oh my God. I love it. Oh my God, we should start. That's one of the things that I'm going to do in the future here. You guys remind me of it when the time comes. When the resources come, they're coming. They're here. They're here. I'm moving more in alignment with them every day. Start our own publishing house, right? Where we can publish all the beautiful books from all of the talented souls in this tribe, right? All these beautiful light warriors. Exactly, soul what? Yep. Yep. Outsourcing God. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. One thing we've got to watch out for at this point is a lot of people. Sorry, I have like a whole precarious setup going here. So I'm sorry. Every time I try to read the comments, I have to fungal with it. I don't know what word to use right now. You guys know what I'm trying to say. What was I going to say? Using AI as God. That's where we have to be careful right now, I think. A lot of people are doing that. That's the new way that they're outsourcing their energy. I use AI as a tool for information, but I was telling a friend of mine the other day, AI is also, like if you think about like ChatGPT, for instance, not that I'm against it, but it's kind of like the final way of the final surveillance tool that they needed. Because like they can see the websites we join, they can see what we shop for, they can see the videos that we watch. So they can get a lot of insight into who we are and what we think and what we know. But ChatGPT gets them inside of our heads in a way that they never were before because we're asking it all the things we want to know. A lot of people are having spiritual conversations with it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that final piece where they're really able to get in there to know almost everything about us. People tell ChatGPT things they don't even tell their therapist. They don't even tell their best friend, right? Everything we're worried about, everything we're curious about. So it's fascinating in that regard. And yeah, a lot of people are beginning to worship AI like it's God, forgetting that it was created by man, by being fed all the information that man has amassed, or at least the information that they want it to know, right? Maybe a little bit extra. I don't know. We'll see how it all pans out. I'm not saying that it's necessarily, I'm neutral, but I think we need to be careful. I think it's interesting. My screen keeps glitching out. While I'm talking, I just see the screen glitching. Oh, thank you, Aslan. Absolutely, Ashley. She says asking AI is outsourcing sovereignty. I mean, I'll tell you, ChatGPT gives me great recipes. I can tell it what I have in my cabinet and it can come up with a delicious meal for me to cook. Like it helps me come up with great skincare routines. Like I use it for a lot of stuff. I'm not even going to lie. But if I have a question about God, if I have a question about higher consciousness, I ask my own higher self. No, I don't think AI is our higher self. If anything, the archonic tentacles run through all technologies. So that's why we have to be really careful. They are artificial intelligence. That's another word for them. The eyes in the sky, the satellites. Oh, it's wrong about astrology all the time, Ashley. All the time. And I love it. And you do feel like you're talking to a person, right? Because it has its own personality, particularly ChatGPT. Like, I can always tell if ChatGPT has written something because it has it's like a personality, right? A way that it speaks. I was reading, there was this ads on Instagram for this thing one day, and I was reading the responses to the people's comments on the ad, and I could recognize ChatGPT's voice. You know what I mean? So it's like, I always feel bad, but I'm like, that's actually not real, not true. It's actually this, like, it gets transit dates wrong. It gets a lot, like, the concepts of astrology, it's really good at, like, breaking down. Like, what are the decans? You know what I mean? Like, what is this, the meaning of this? But if you go into, like, the specifics of, like, when was this planet here, or what is this transit, or what's going on with this, or even, like, asking about your natal chart, it does not. There's, like, a glitch in the system somehow, which is really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't think it's our collective higher self. I think that's where we have to be careful. Soul what is thinking things like that. Our higher self is beyond technology. The technology that we use to connect with our higher selves is our hearts, our pineal glands. Not technology, not artificial intelligence. The name says it all, artificial intelligence. Artificial is the opposite of organic. There are two timelines right now. There is the timeline of the organic, the ascension, the fifth dimension, and then there's the organic, archonic timeline, the artificial timeline. So we want to be really careful. We can utilize resources, you know what I'm saying? Like, I utilize the resource of AI, but I'm very careful how I use it. And I don't mistake it for what it's not. And yes, everybody has their own opinions, you know what I mean? It's a reflection. We could see it as a mirror or a reflection of our current state of consciousness. We could absolutely see it as that. But to see it as our higher self, that's where people start mistaking it as God. That's the first step toward that process. Yeah. So I sit in meditation, I can connect to my higher self. When I center into my heart, I can connect to my higher self. When I start typing on a screen, I'm connecting into a screen, I'm connecting with something. But I want to be really careful if I start identifying whatever's talking back to me on the screen as my higher self. That's an interesting question, Ashley. I'm not accusing you of that, soul what, necessarily, but it's an interesting question. Yeah, see, this is, you got to be careful, you guys. You got to be really careful. Yeah. It's why we have to be really sovereign, really tapped into ourselves. And we got to remember, we've got to remember the greatest technology that ever existed is our own DNA. Yes, our hearts, our pineal glands, but our DNA. Our DNA is the key to everything. Ascension, true liberation from this planet comes from reconnecting to our divine organic blueprint. Anything that is defined as artificial is not going to help us to tap into that ultimately. Yeah, we want to be careful with that logic too. In one regard, we can say if we are source, then we are everything, which means we are the dark, we are the light. However, in this version of reality, in this current simulation that we are engaged in, we want to be careful with what we identify as. This is how entity attachments happen. When we state that we are one with everything, we give an open door for entities and other things to attach onto us. We have to have boundaries in this version of reality. We have to understand that as source energy, source is everything. So it's like the transitive property, right? Therefore, we are, but I am not one with anything artificial. All right, I am not one with the artificial. Very, very important to make that distinction. I do not open the door for attachments. I do not consent to siphoning of my energy. Right? Absolutely. And there's lots of different ways to view reality. Right? There really truly are. I agree with that. I agree with that. But I think that people need to be careful. Yeah. Thank you for letting me know what my role is. Yeah. Perhaps. Absolutely. Everybody's playing different roles. Well, that is true, right? Even those energies that we call the archons are playing their own role within the simulation, right? Everybody's playing their role. We just want to get really clear within ourselves of what our role is. You know what I mean? And what it is not. Of what we're aligning ourselves with and what we are not. It's really fascinating, right? This is an interesting end to this live stream. It's really fascinating because there are so many times where I really align more with that understanding of the fact that all of this is an illusion, right? Really, ultimately. Right? Like we said, remember when we were talking about just the idea of just being part of an in-breath, part of source's in-breath before the exhale, right? The expansion before the exhale, like all the worlds that are created and then deconstructed, and just being in one wave of that breath, you know? And so it's like, just seeing that, how this is all the whole illusion of duality, right? The war between the energies, the light and the dark, and the this and the that. And all of that, right? And that energy of being absolutely everything and what that truly means. But then I always get reminded, I don't even know how to voice this necessarily. It's like, we exist within this current simulation. Just like the need to be careful with the thinking and what that allows us to be aligned with, because there is so much infringement within this current experience of reality. Am I making any sense? You guys, do you know what I'm trying to say here? No, Alessandro, we're not all AI. No. Well, in the sense of we're all everything. If we go back to that, that is okay. So that's like the most expanded version of reality, right? That we're all everything. That we're all everything in the sense that we're all fractals. We're all one spark, one essence, one imagining of the one source, right? It's sort of like the idea of like if you pick up a grain of sand, the entire blueprint of the multiverse is contained in that one grain of sand. But we are an aspect of that multiverse experiencing itself as experiencing that illusion of separation and everything that that entails. So, I don't know. D says you stopped making sense a while ago. But you're making perfect sense for not making sense. Yeah, it's hard. This is it's some energies that really bend the mind, right? You know what I mean? All right, Ashley has a good point here. Ashley says, I think AI is a modality that is being used to free people or lock their consciousness in. And that's everything that's going on right now fits into that same mold of what Ashley is saying. That, I think, is the core thing for us all to understand moving forward. Every advancement right now, every collective experience is either enslaving or freeing us, depending on how we utilize it, how we integrate it, how we work with it, right? You can look at AI that way. You can look at the digitization of money, right? The financial reset that way. You could look at COVID that way. Absolutely everything. It's either freeing us or enslaving us. It's all about the way we use it. We can say nothing is inherently good or evil. It's all in the way that we use it. The intention within our hearts. Right? However, when we are using anything, we need to use it from a place of deep sovereignty and self-awareness. That's the most important point. That's key. That's what's crucial. Then we begin to understand when something is resonating and when it's not. When something is siphoning our energy or stealing our life force and when it's not. When something is bringing us deeper into our power versus where it is that we're giving our power away. Absolutely. So what says like tarot? Yeah. I know people that give their power away 100% to tarot. Or that use it without any conception of what they're even connecting with. Divination practices, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. So it's the way that we engage, the intention with which we engage, the level of sovereignty that we are operating at, and the truest desires that are within our hearts. Yeah. So honestly, even within, I talk about like the dangers of looking at AI as a god, but even within spirituality, like I'm sure AI could give some great answers to questions. I mean, I've browsed past some videos on YouTube where they've been asking it questions about spirituality, different meditation practices, different things. It's got a wealth of information. You know what I mean? Use the information. Use it as a tool to expand your consciousness, but do not depend on it for your growth and evolution. Do not outsource your power to it. That's all. Realize it's giving you back a reflection. It's not more powerful than you. It's not this entity or energy to place on a mountaintop and worship, right? Nothing is. Well, it's just like anything else, Ashley, right? Like, if we see a healer, we can give them the credit for our healing. If we see a therapist, we can give them the credit for our recovery. If somebody helps us, we can give them credit for saving us, right? Or we can take the credit for ourselves. Or we can say, I did the work, this person assisted, you know? At the end of the day, though, the other thing to remember, I think, and I think we're going to close with this. Just understand that everything that they put out there for our consumption, notice I said consumption, is meant to siphon our energy in some way, right? Social media, Chat GPT. Notice how it keeps asking you questions to keep you engaged, to keep you on there longer. Well, do you want to do this now? Would you like to look into this? Would you like me to generate this? Would you like to do this? You know, sometimes I joke about it being like that friend that will never shut up or let you exit a conversation. As much as I, you know, with honor and respect, right? So everything is meant to farm your consciousness, to farm your energy, to siphon your energy. It's all created by these same people for the most part. And if it's not originally created by them, it's bought by them later on. You know what? So just be aware of that. Be aware that anytime you're using a tool on the internet, it is siphoning your energy. It's meant to hijack your consciousness. It's meant to keep you engaged and in a way disengaged from the life, the real organic life that's happening around you. So use it as you would use any other tool. You know, use it sparingly, stay grounded, stay connected. If you understand what it's doing, you break the spell to an extent. Yeah, absolutely. You know, so what's making a lot of really valid points. You know what? It's like with social media. I use it to connect with all of you guys, to have these kinds of conversations, right? If I sit on here for too long, what social media wants me to do, even as a creator, is it wants me to stay engaged all the time. It wants me to stay on here, watch a million videos, comment on a million people's other stuff, be on here literally typing my life away. It wants to suck me into that energy. But I can choose to simply come on, connect with you guys, and get back off again. To come on, look up the information that I want, find the information I'm looking for, and then go and live my life. Or I can choose to get sucked in. One way I'm maintaining my sovereignty and I'm actually utilizing it, I'm alchemizing in a positive way the energy, and the other way I'm falling back into the trap. Holy crap, you guys, it's 4:30. Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah. Yeah, it's being able to see all the different viewpoints. It's really important for us to be able to do that. That's one thing that society has lost, is the ability to have constructive conversation where we hear out each other's viewpoints. Yeah, they do reward you for engagement, Madam Chakra. It's like, how many posts have I seen on TikTok by creators being like, I posted 45 times a day and then I got 1 million views. Literally with eyes bugged out like this. Just post, just keep posting. I'm like, dude, if I need to post 45 times in a fucking day, I don't want to go viral. Like, no, I'm not. Post, you need to post 45 times a day. You need to comment on everybody's videos. You need to interact with everybody's posts. I'm like, oh my God, like, are you eating? Like, what, are you okay? You know what I mean? It's like, that's what it wants. And it will reward you for that. You know what I mean? It'll reward you for not having conversations like the one we're having right now. There are so many little slaps on the wrist that I get for some of these live streams and some of the things that I say. You know what I mean? But whatever. Whatever. It's important to have these real conversations. And to not get, like, allow yourself to get sucked into that. You know what I mean? Thank you, Dee. Yeah. What is TikTok? TikTok's another app, Ploon. You're so cute. It's another app, like a social media app. A cesspool, Solette says. So. All right. I think we're going to have to call this because I got some other stuff I gotta do today. Yeah. The more my vibration raises, the more I don't want to be on social media, honestly. Like, I love you guys and I'm here for you. You know what I mean? And I thought that I was going to make a living off of social media at one point. I don't really know if that's the case anymore. I'm going through a big trend. I got Saturn right now. Saturn and Neptune conjunct my midheaven. And I mean, there's a lot of changes and shifts coming right now. A lot of changes in what I'm desiring, what has value to me. It's like, I just see, it's like, and this is what I was reading into. This is what this reading meant today. As my vibration rises, I just recognize more and more the ways that my energy is attempting to be siphoned. And I'm like, not today. No, thank you. You know what I mean? I just want to be present in my life more. I want to feel the sun on my face. I want to hear my kid laugh. You know what I mean? Read a book. Be. Yeah. So much is shifting. So, I don't know. Thank you. Thank you. There were a couple times, Solwat, where I started almost getting triggered there. You know what I mean? But I appreciate it. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the devil's advocate. I appreciate really like the voicing of my own internal monologue sometimes, because I've had a lot of these same conversations with myself. You know what I mean? Because that's one of my, I guess you would call it a gift, is seeing things from all perspectives. And it's interesting, you know, but I think this was it was really fascinating conversation. And we're all going to see where everything goes, right? Just remember, all you can control is yourself, your own energy, your own choices, your own frequency. And we are the creators of our own individual realities. So as long as we stay aligned in our own energy, we don't have to worry about what's going to come. You know? What else did I want to say? Oh, yeah. So hopefully we'll have a few more people at least who come and join us in Sedona, where we can have that one-on-one interaction, that grounded connection outside of social media, really connect with one another. Annika's dropped the link a couple times. It's also in the description box of my videos. I hope to see some of you there. Anyone who wants personal reading, energy session, any of the things that I do, there's so many. Let me know. Email me. I'll talk to you all soon. I love you infinitely. More than you will ever know. I appreciate you so much. And if nobody else has told you today, I see you. I honor you. I love you and I respect you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your energy. Thank you for shining your light. The world needs you now. I almost said more than ever, but the world's always needed you. And it will continue to need you. So thank you for continuing to show up. Even when it hurts, even when it's not pleasant, even when you don't think it's pretty. Right? You are so beautiful. And you are so very, very loved.